to Real Talk. I am Professor Pinna. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the 8 deadly wastes. Now, waste is a fundamental principle of lean. Lean seeks to reduce waste. And the only way we can reduce waste is to identify it. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about what the 8 deadly wastes are, and then what is the deadliest of all of the wastes. Now, the acronym I want all of you to remember is DOWNTIME. It's an easy way to recall what each of the 8 wastes actually are. And it's an acronym that's used throughout industry, primarily in manufacturing, but you'll see it anywhere where they practice lean. So let's understand what each of the letters mean. The D stands for defects, basically meaning we don't meet expectations. The O stands for overproduction, which is producing more than what is needed. You see Ferrari, Porsche, all of these luxury car manufacturers, they only produce a certain quantity of cars because they have limited demand. Or if you look at Toyota, Honda, they produce thousands upon thousands of cars because there's a demand for it. There's a price point at which everyone's going to buy one of those. So they're going to have more. Imagine if Ferrari produced as many cars as Toyota, they would have a parking lot full of cars. Not what they want. The W stands for waiting. And that's exactly what it is. We're waiting for something. We're waiting for parts. We're waiting for dinner. We're waiting in line. Waiting equals more time not doing something productive. The N, non-utilized skills or non-utilized employees. Employees with process knowledge, employees that have skill sets that we aren't using, that's a waste. If people have great ideas, if people know what they're doing, and we're not asking them for their suggestions or ways to remove barriers to process and problems, that is a waste. That is untapped talent. The T stands for transportation. That is effectively the movement, or rather the unnecessary movement of an entity. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a piece of paper. It could be a component part, a piece of information. It doesn't, irrespective. We have to understand, why is it moving through all of these different gates? You ever notice when you get to the DMV, you go in and you go to one desk, they give you a ticket, you go to the next desk, they give you another ticket, and so on and so forth? That is transportation waste. You, as the interested party, are constantly moving about. Why can't you just go to one window and get it all done? Doesn't make sense. I is inventory. And that is just goods on hand. Don't need it. Think about it in your kitchen when you open up the cupboard and you go in there and you see all of the items that are expired. Go to the next cupboard, expired. You don't want that. Inventory costs money. And you don't want to have more than what you need. Plain and simple. The M stands for motion. And when you're talking about motion, and it is different from transportation, think of the physical movement of the human body. Why am I twisting around constantly? Why do I have to get up and walk to the other end of the office to do something? You want to have everything that you need in close proximity. Not good to have it elsewhere. You need it where you need it, and that's where it should be. And the E stands for excess processing. Doing more than what is asked of you. If the customer only asks for X, Y, and Z, and you give them A, B, C, D, E, F, and G on top of X, Y, and Z, you've given them more than what they asked. That requires time to do. They didn't ask for it. Why did you do it? So we have to be cognizant of these things. And I challenge all of you as you're listening to this video to think of where you may have seen these wastes and where you continue to see these wastes, even in your home. Now, the deadliest of all the wastes is overproduction. Why? Excellent question. Because it leads to other wastes. Take a simple example. making dinner. You have a company of 3 that are coming over and you decide to cook for 10. What's going to happen with all that food? You're not going to need all of that food. You may not have enough capacity in your oven for all that food, or on your stovetop for all that food, and therefore you may not be able to cook it properly. Now you have a defect. But let's say you are able to cook it properly, and bravo if you are. We have a Gordon Ramsay. You will have leftovers. Now you're creating inventory. Now, leftovers are nice, but maybe only for a day. You may have multiple days of leftovers, and now that inventory needs to be thrown away. So now you've spent all this money on food that you don't need. Why bother doing that? But as you're overproducing, people are also waiting. You're also doing more than what's needed. If someone only asked you for a plate of dinner and you're giving them hors d'oeuvres and your appetizers and it's a 5-course meal and they thought they were coming over just for a hamburger and some French fries, yeah, they may be stunned by it, but they didn't ask for it. And it may actually not taste good because, like we said, you may not have the capacity in the kitchen to even make it. So we only want to make what is asked of us. Supply and demand, equilibrium, and nothing beyond that. Simple economics, 101. So when you're out there in your workplace, when you're in your home, when you're making dinner, when you're food shopping, or when you're just going about your day-to-day, think of the waste that you encounter. Until next time, keep it real.